everyone, Lu here. Time once again for another Yu-Gi-Oh review, and this time I managed to line this up perfectly with the Halloween season. That's right, today we're talking about Pyramid of Light, Yu-Gi-Oh's first movie and one that scared the absolute shit out of every child who was watching this at the movie theater. Okay, so Pyramid of Light was following a trend of anime intended for a younger audience in the late 90s and early 2000s. Beginning with the Pokemon movie, which released in 1999 in the US, just about every anime intended for a younger audience was trying to follow the hype train the Pokemon movie left behind. I mean, I was 2 when the movie released in the US, so I can't tell you the reception, but looking back at all the Pokemon toys I had as a kid, something tells me it was pretty massive. In the following years, there would be Digimon the movie, Spirited Away, Howl's Moving Castle, more Pokemon movies, Inuyasha's movies, and of course Naruto the movie. Safe to say we got a big trend going on here around this time. 4 kids, I guess, wanted a piece of their own pie and commissioned Studio Gallop to make a movie with an original story. The only thing I don't know is if Kazuki Takahashi's involvement in the creative process of this movie. From looking at my own DVD copy from my childhood, I can't seem to find anything in the extras hinting that Takahashi had any involvement in anything, but I'm assuming he did at least approve of it. Since, according to Kaiba's English voice actor, he actually did like the English dub of Yu-Gi-Oh! And was a particular fan of his performance as Seto Kaiba, so who knows, maybe he did see it and like it? I mean, this does have the hallmarks of a story written by Takahashi, so if he didn't write it, then props to the writing team for channeling his style very well. The film would release in August 2004 in the US and March 2005 in Japan, to massive hype in the United States. Luckily for me, I have vague but somewhat good memory of when I saw this in theaters. I was pretty much the only girl in the movie theater and the only one who looked in absolute awe at everything on screen, while all the other kids in the theater had the shit scared out of them by the mummies and shit. Good memories, I tell ya. Another thing is that there is lost media for Pyramid of Light, as the Japanese dub for the movie is considered partially lost. Mostly the movie didn't do as well in Japan as it did in the US, but the movie contained extra footage in Japanese versions that just explained and emphasized shit a little more basically, along with original music for the movie, as well as using the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime soundtrack, where the English version used music composed by 4 kids, including an edgy early 2000s rock song specifically written for Seto Kaiba. Enough about the production and childhood memories though. Let's start with the story. Okay, so we start our story during an excavation of an Egyptian tomb for what is apparently Anubis, the Egyptian god of death. I mean, I don't know why Anubis was a real person when all the other Egyptian gods were like actual gods in stone tablets, but hey, it's Yu-Gi-Oh! So don't question it. At the same time Anubis's grave is being dug up by archaeologists, Yugi had just completed the Millennium Puzzle. Unlike the manga where he spouts out a bunch of random shit and then goes absolutely batshit from awakening the puzzle, instead, like, a bunch of monsters come out of nowhere and Yami Yugi banishes them away. Meanwhile, the museum found a light blue pyramid of light thingy that's the opposite of the Millennium Puzzle for some reason. Cut to present day now, and this is presumably about a few days to a few weeks after Battle City. Why Yugi didn't go to the museum yet is a mystery, but hey, even I'd want a break from ancient Egyptian stuff after the poor shit Yugi saw from Battle City. Now cut to Kaiba, who's doing a hologram projection test of an AI of Yami Yugi fighting off against Kaiba, where he still loses because he's Seto Kaiba and the man can't handle defeat, but also very clearly has some sort of crush on Yami Yugi if the man spent way too many hours looking at his pretty face to make a perfect hologram of him. In the meantime, Pegasus has a nightmare about the Egyptian gods and a pyramid of light thingy in the dream crushing the Egyptian gods or something. Although he lost his eye a while ago to Bakura in Season 1, I guess he still has the connection to ancient Egypt or something because he has a bad feeling something bad is gonna happen soon. Kaiba being desperate for a new strategy and cards to defeat Yami Yugi, he gets on his Blue Eyes White Dragon jet plane with an awesome edgy early 2000s rock song dedicated to him as he flies all the way to Duelist Kingdom to ask Pegasus directly if he's ever made any cards that defeat the Egyptian gods. You may be wondering, hey Lou, weren't the Egyptian god cards so dangerous because the actual Egyptian gods possessed them that Pegasus only ever made one copy of each and hid them around the world so it wouldn't make sense for Pegasus to make a sudden card that can combat using them? Yes. Sort of. But Yugi never told Kaiba about what exposition ghost Shadi told him in Battle City, so he doesn't actually know that. Also, Pegasus did make a card to combat them, so I guess I'm just gonna assume here it was a failsafe in case someone actually did steal the god cards. Considering his security on these cards were complete ass since Yami Merrick took like 2 of them, then I'd say it makes sense for him to make a failsafe. So Kaiba approaches Pegasus and challenges him to a duel. If he wins, then Pegasus has to give him the card that can defeat the Egyptian gods. If he loses, then he'll give him all 3 Blue Eyes White Dragon, to which shows how confident Kaiba actually is at this. Oh, and in the meantime, I forgot to mention that Yugi is now super famous around Domino City for winning Battle City, so Joey and Tristan have to repeatedly duel guys who want to beat Yugi, while Taya and Yugi make a run for it away from Yugi's new mob of fans. It's actually really cool though to have Kaiba and Pegasus face off again, since the last time they did, Kaiba lost pretty damn quickly, so hey, at least closure for Kaiba that he can beat Pegasus at his own game when he's not cheating with a funky Egyptian eye. He wins, obviously, and asks Pegasus why he lied about a second card, where Pegasus is super confused because he only made 1 card to counter the Egyptian gods. Meanwhile, Taya and Yugi end up in the Domino Museum to get away from the mob, where Yugi notices a triangle light pyramid thingy like his Millennium Puzzle, so they decide to check it out because it might have a connection to Yami Yugi clearly. At the museum is Yugi's grandpa, who is surprisingly not a display piece because he's so old, but instead checking out the new exhibit on Anubis, which was found a while ago and is now on display. Basically, some kind of prophecy where Anubis wants to kill the pharaoh. Not all that surprising, really. Yugi gets a nightmare about Yami Yugi getting severely injured while Kaiba's manhandled by Anubis. Freaky scene, and trust me, this isn't the only time this movie will get a little spooky. After that, Yugi, Taya, and Yugi's grandpa wake up to find that Anubis was either stolen or straight up walked out and left, which is a horrifying idea as someone who definitely is a little freaked out looking at mummies. On the way home though, Mokuba catches Yugi by saying his brother wants to duel him, so Yugi follows, where Yami Yugi and Kaiba start the duel already. Joey and Tristan see this, so they decide to follow because they want to know what Kaiba's up to, because he's a sore-ass loser capable of anything. The duel starts off pretty normal, with Yami Yugi summoning all 3 Egyptian gods in a couple of turns, but then the duel takes a real turn for the worst when Kaiba plays a card called Pyramid of Light. In reality, this card makes no sense for Kaiba to play, when the purpose of this card is to summon Androsphinx and Sphinx Talea at the cost of 500 life points each, and if the card is destroyed, then both cards are removed from play. But again, the Yu-Gi-Oh anime doesn't exactly follow the actual game at all. When the Pyramid of Light is summoned, the Millennium Puzzle's faulty batteries really start going crazy, and Yugi is sucked into the puzzle instead of a ghost on the side like he usually is. Joey and Tristan get sucked into the puzzle as well from looking at the eye of the Pyramid of Light. Why wasn't Mokuba sucked in too? I guess Mokuba has plot armor or something. While they're dueling, by the way, I also have to bring up this scene where Penton the Dark Clown fucking stabs Yami Yugi in the back as part of his special ability. Remember that violence in the original TV airing of Yu-Gi-Oh was censored so heavily? Seeing a stab on screen was actually pretty intense for a lot of kids watching this in theaters. This particular movie actually brought up a point I see not many people bring up when discussing why Yu-Gi-Oh! The show was censored so heavily, but the movie wasn't really, aside from maybe blood. Basically, TV censors around this time for children's shows was pretty strict, as it was coming off of the 90s where basically every parent feared their child would end up a school shooter if they watched Batman punch someone in the face. You can actually see this censorship in particular based off how 4Kids would later translate other Yu-Gi-Oh anime. Specifically, when you look at the Vrains dub compared to the original dub of Yu-Gi-Oh around the height of the censorship, which was around season 3 of GX when it was at its tightest. Just something I want to mention anyway, I have seen Kaiba's voice actor also bring up this point at conventions because he was actually pretty heavily involved with the majority of the dub production for Pokemon and bits of Yu-Gi-Oh! Okay, so basically Yugi, Joey, and Tristan are being chased by a bunch of mummies while Yugi's grandpa explains that basically Anubis did some bad stuff, Yami Yugi as a pharaoh kicked his ass, but Anubis vowed revenge, so now this is his revenge by using the Pyramid of Light to feed off Yami Yugi and Kaiba's souls so he can resurrect himself. Then Kaiba ignores what the Pyramid of Light wants, or something, and instead summons Blue Eyes Shining Dragon, which is the actual card used to defeat the Egyptian gods. Basically, it gets 300 extra attack points for every dragon monster in the graveyard, and can only be summoned by playing Blue Eyes White Dragon. Since Kaiba's entire deck is based off dragons, this is actually the perfect card for him. And I suppose if you wanted to really theorize, I guess it can beat the Egyptian gods. Slifer in particular, since Slifer's attack points are based off how many cards you have in your hand. Also, hashtag humble brag, but I actually got this card in the little pack they gave everyone who watched the movie. Wish I still had it, but I was a pretty little kid when this movie came out, and taking care of my Yu-Gi-Oh cards wasn't exactly something I knew how to do. Also, I had the infamous Duel Disk as a kid, and if y'all know anything about the Duel Disk, you know it shreds cards like a fucking paper shredder. So as the Pyramid of Light grows bigger and destroys Kaiba's dome, Pegasus steps in to basically explain that he never made a card called Pyramid of Light, and he's pretty sure Anubis made it so he can try and resurrect himself. Yes, an ancient Egyptian god using a children's card game to resurrect himself is absolutely ridiculous. But then again, have you seen the plot of Yu-Gi-Oh so far? This is just the right amount of silly to me. So, Anubis inside the puzzle tries to kill Joey, Tristan, and Yugi, but Taya steps in to help her friends by literally doing nothing, because all she did was remind them that they're all besties, but I guess her being there kind of showed them they can kick mummy butt, so that's what they all do, I guess? Except Yugi, because he has the physical strength of a baby. With not many cards left, Yami Yugi has no choice but to summon a Squishmallow and Link from Legend of Zelda. So he's literally fucked, and it seems like he's actually about to lose against Kaiba. Yami Yugi pleads with Kaiba to end this duel because this is clearly some bad shit going on, especially when he notices Anubis' voice coming out of Kaiba. But as usual, he doesn't want to listen. So basically, Kaiba has a specific strategy to summon the god cards on his side of the field so Yami Yugi can know what it feels like to lose against the god cards. So he uses Blue Eyes Shining Dragon to destroy the Pyramid of Light. Not in the description of that card, but again, Yu-Gi-Oh anime, so no rules. Except when Kaiba tries to destroy the Pyramid of Light, Anubis is so enraged that he awakens at last to face off against Yami Yugi, where he makes his big "I'll get my revenge" speech. So Anubis special summons the two Sphinx cards I mentioned earlier, which is actually what Pyramid of Light fucking does. And they both proceed to destroy Yami Yugi's final two cards left. Though a bit of an inconsistency in that Sphinx Talea also inflicts damage equal to half of the monster's defense points, and since Link from Zelda was in defense mode, Yami Yugi should have lost right then and there, but hey, you know, Yami Yugi has plot armor. In his final move, all Yami Yugi has left is 2 magic cards and 1 trap card left because an earlier card basically sent nearly every one of Yami Yugi's cards to the graveyard, so literally, he is so fucked. Inside, Yugi figures out that in order to break the Pyramid of Light, they need to use a Dagger of Fate to destroy the eye that's draining everyone's souls. But he manages to break it with his little baby strength. Sensing Yugi did something to weaken Anubis, Yami Yugi uses a spell card to take Monster Reborn from Kaiba's deck to summon Blue Eyes Shining Dragon to destroy Pyramid of Light. Again, not what that card does, but at least the 2 Sphinx monsters are removed from play like what the actual card description says. With the Pyramid of Light finally destroyed, Yami Yugi is still fucked when his next turn comes because he won't be able to draw a card, so it'll be an automatic lose. Doesn't help, Anubis then summons Theonin the Great Sphinx, which is a card that can only be summoned when both Sphinx cards from earlier are destroyed, except you can only increase this card's attack points by 3,000, so Anubis is feeding off the souls of the Pyramid of Light, which doesn't make any sense, but okay. During this turn, Yami-Yugi figures out what Kaiba's actual plan was, so he uses his own trap card to summon an opponent's trap card on his side of the field, so he plays Return from the Different Dimension that allows him to summon all 3 Egyptian god cards. With Anubis defeated by the Egyptian gods, it seems like everything is about to go back to normal, except Kaiba is still really pissed off about what happened. Do you blame him? He got his ass beat by the Egyptian god of the dead. Except Anubis, just like Kaiba, can't handle defeat, so he uses ancient Egyptian magic to summon real monsters this time to try and kill everybody. With Anubis starting destruction, it's just Kaiba and Yugi now who have to find a way to defeat a real growing wolf monster thingy. So Yugi summons Blue Eyes Shining Dragon to defeat Anubis because cheating, but hey, at least it looked cool. Also, we get one last creepy imagery of Anubis melting, so that must have been fun for every 8-year-old watching this in the movie theater. I even remember being a little freaked out by it. At least Anubis is finally defeated for real this time, but Kaiba is still a sore loser about losing, so he vows they'll duel again someday. I mean, they do in the future in Dark Side of Dimensions, but geez, let it be known Kaiba really doesn't like losing to his crush. Yami-Yugi. So basically the movie ends in a friendship speech and everyone lives happily ever after until season 4 where everyone gets fucked over. I've always really liked this movie despite how silly it is. If you asked me what are the top 3 movies I watched throughout my childhood to a point where my parents can memorize every scene by heart, then it's probably Barbie as Rapunzel, Yu-Gi-Oh! The movie, and the 3rd Pokemon movie. The only thing I would have personally liked to see, even though I know the movie didn't exactly have time for it and obviously wouldn't be brought up again, is simply just seeing what Anubis actually did when Yami-Yugi was still Pharaoh. I don't know, it would have been cool to see Yami-Yugi in his prime as a Pharaoh just sort of beat Anubis' ass and then seal himself in the Pyramid of Light or something later for some other greater darkness or something. Not to mention, there was some funny dialogue from Pegasus where he was constantly insulting Kaiba for being a sore-ass loser. Overall, while the story is not the greatest from Yu-Gi-Oh!, I still really liked it. Being older, I'm not a fan of the animation for this movie anymore, to be honest. The coloring for this movie is extremely off, and everyone looks just a bit off-model to me. Understandable, as this movie was honestly just a cash grab from 4Kids, so I doubt Studio Gallop hired their best animators for this movie, but I can see where the budget really went, cause goodness dearie me, those mummies are actually really creepy. Is it me, or does everyone look weirdly shiny too? Like, everyone looks like they're made of plastic to me instead of the usual anime shading we see in TV anime for Yu-Gi-Oh! I mean, the animation itself is fine, just feels like a slight step up from the TV anime, but the coloring and shading is just really off to me. Overall, the animation isn't terrible, but obviously it wasn't made with the best quality in mind. Since the Yu-Gi-Oh! Movie's Japanese version is sort of lost media, so I can't really find it, I thought I'd bring up the fun extras that were on the DVD for Pyramid of Light. This is my childhood copy of the movie, and I thought it wouldn't be working anymore, cause like, I've literally had this DVD since 2004, but hey, I guess I took really good care of this DVD copy. I did boot it up on my PS4 though, because it's 2022, so I don't have a DVD player anymore, since I watch everything digitally, but I'm honestly surprised my PS4 booted it up, since usually DVDs on this thing is a little finicky. Right away, you're greeted with a badass and much more intense version of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Theme, with the characters in the movie fading over the screen, along with a really cute memory matching game. It's pretty basic, but I remember really liking this game as a kid, because memory matching games are some of my favorites. Also, this DVD had a trailer for the Polar Express, Harry Potter, and that one Kangaroo Jack movie that never actually had a kangaroo in it or something, so they made a whole ass cartoon movie about a talking kangaroo or something. Don't you just miss those days when you get random ass trailers on your DVD? Is this the best Yu-Gi-Oh! Movie ever made? No. Is it the worst Yu-Gi-Oh! Movie ever made? I don't think there is one, so no. This is a fine little non-canon movie for Yu-Gi-Oh! And that's kind of what it is. It's just fun. Is it amazing? No. But it's okay to watch. That being said, the nostalgic factor in this movie is pretty damn high for me, so it's slightly more enjoyable than it probably would be for someone else. And that would be it for this film review of Yu-Gi-Oh! Pyramid of Light. Tune in next time in my Yu-Gi-Oh! Review series where we finally get to Season 4, aka the biggest downer of this entire series. You guys let me know down below what you think of this video. Have you ever seen the Pyramid of Light movie? Do you remember watching it as a kid? And as always, let me know down below. Hey guys, thanks for watching! If you liked the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you're new. If any of you would like to help support my channel in any possible way, my Ko-fi page is down below in the description, along with all of my social media. For any subscribers, new or old, who'd like to help with video ideas, or maybe just want to talk about anime or something, I have a fan server linked down below. See you next time!